You know the names. They echo through the halls of history, their stories etched into our collective consciousness. William Wallace, the commoner who raised an army and defied a king for freedom. Robin Hood, the noble outlaw in Lincoln Green, robbing the rich to give to the poor. King Arthur, the paragon of chivalry, presiding over the perfect brotherhood of knights at the Round Table. They are the titans of the medieval world, symbols of justice, freedom, and honor. We've seen their deeds immortalized in films, their adventures chronicled in books. We feel like we know them. But what if these heroes are ghosts? What if the figures we celebrate are beautiful, necessary illusions, crafted to fill a void in the dark and brutal reality of the past? Prepare for your perception to be challenged, because the truth behind these legends is not a story of heroism, but a story of how heroes are made and unmade. Let's begin in the windswept highlands of Scotland with our first hero, William Wallace. Thanks to Hollywood, we see a peasant farmer, his face painted blue, wearing a kilt, leading a grassroots rebellion with a single defiant cry of freedom. It's a powerful, romantic image. It's also almost entirely false. The real William Wallace was not a commoner. He was a member of the minor nobility, the gentry, a man of education and military training. The iconic kilt he wears in the film wouldn't become a common garment in the Highlands for another 300 years. And the war he fought wasn't about an abstract modern concept of freedom. It was a brutal feudal conflict over succession, loyalty, and the legitimate rule of Scotland. So where did the legend come from? It wasn't written by eyewitnesses. It was forged nearly 200 years after Wallace's gruesome execution in an epic poem by a minstrel known as Blind Harry. He took the bare, violent facts of a minor nobleman's rebellion and spun them into a national epic. He invented the personal tragedies, exaggerated the victories, and transformed a feudal knight into a man of the people. Why? Because 15th century Scotland needed a hero. They needed a symbol of defiance against their powerful English neighbors. Wallace the man was dead, but Wallace the legend had just been born, a powerful tool for forging a national identity. Our next case takes us into the green shadows of Sherwood Forest to find Robin Hood, the hero of social justice, the champion of the oppressed. His creed is simple and noble: take from the greedy and give to the needy. It's a moral bedrock. But if you go back to the very first ballads of Robin Hood from the 14th and 15th centuries, you will find a very different man. The original Robin Hood is no gentle rogue. He is a yeoman, a landowner, and he is violent. He fights the corrupt sheriff of Nottingham. Yes, but he also ambushes and kills monks and other travelers. He is an anti-authority figure, a symbol of the common man's resentment against a harsh and unjust legal system. But in these early tales, there is one crucial element missing. There is almost no mention of him giving his stolen goods to the poor. The early Robin Hood was a hero for the disenfranchised, but he was a hero of survival and revenge, not charity. The idea of him as a benevolent redistributor of wealth was added centuries later by writers in the Tudor period. They needed to soften his violent edges, to transform him from a dangerous outlaw into a moral paragon. They made him a dispossessed nobleman, giving his crimes a more righteous cause. In doing so, they created a powerful myth that has shaped our ideas of economic justice ever since. The legend became a moral compass, but it had to be scrubbed clean of the blood and grime of its origin. Finally, we arrive at the grandest legend of all, King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, the pinnacle of chivalry, honor, and enlightened rule. Camelot, a beacon of justice in a dark world. But as we've explored before, the historical Arthur, if he existed at all, was a 6th century Romano-British warlord, fighting a desperate guerrilla war in the chaotic aftermath of Rome's collapse. His world was not one of shining castles and courtly love. It was a world of mud, iron, and blood. The legend we know was almost entirely invented in the 12th century by Geoffrey of Monmouth and later romanticized by French poets. They weren't writing history. They were creating a foundation myth for their own time. The Anglo-Norman kings of England needed a heroic British lineage to legitimize their rule. The knightly class needed a figurehead, an impossible ideal of conduct to strive for the code of chivalry. Arthur the warlord was forgotten, and Arthur the king became a perfect vessel. He was a blank slate from the Dark Ages onto which medieval society could project its own highest aspirations. He was not a reflection of his own time. He was a mirror for the time that created his legend. So why do we do this? Why do we take these fragmented figures, a minor nobleman, an outlaw archetype, a shadowy warlord, and build them into flawless heroes? Because real history is messy. It's morally ambiguous and often unsatisfying. Legends, however, are clean. They offer clear lines between good and evil, right and wrong. They provide symbols for a nation to rally behind. A story like William Wallace's could inspire soldiers for generations. A code like Arthur's could shape the behavior of an entire warrior class. A moral like Robin Hood's could offer hope to the powerless. These figures became powerful tools for shaping society. They were recruiting posters, moral fables, and flags of identity all rolled into one. The historical man, with all his flaws and complexities, is lost in the process. He is sacrificed for the sake of the symbol. The hero isn't the person who lived. The hero is the story that survived. And that story tells us far more about the people who told it than it does about the man it describes.